Welcome to Conquer, a parenting podcast with Americ McCullough. Americ is a occupational therapist and mother of three. My name is Scott Grierson. I'm an elementary educator and father of one. On today's show, we will be discussing when parents disagree on parenting with Dr. Yvonne Gustafson. She's from yourparentingmatters.com. Americ, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I just wanted to give you an update on my challenge I had last week of doing the bin method in my house.
Okay, well, I'm
So,
interested to see how this went.
well, it didn't go as well as it should have because I wasn't able to do a ton of bins, but I did do a sweater bin. And I
Okay.
actually did it for myself and my daughter, and I got rid of 2 bags of clothes out of our rooms. So, like Dr. Battle said, we should start small. So, I mean, I got to give myself some credit, for that. And I really want to go into a closet. So, I'm going to try a closet next time. Hopefully, like in the next week or so. So it went well. It was easy because I just got rid of stuff I didn't want, and
Okay.
then I just have what I want in the bin. Like it was like super easy. So it works. It's just you got to do it.
Okay. So, can you give us one thing that was maybe easier than expected and one thing that was harder than expected about, implementing this bin system with your sweaters?
Yeah, I guess the hard one was I couldn't get rid of one of my sweaters because had it. I've had it for since I've been like 20 years old.
Okay.
And I'm kind of mad at myself, like, because I don't wear it anymore, but I can't get rid of it. So I'm just kind of thinking of like what I could do with it. It has like this like sun emblem on it, and I love it. So I'm thinking of like cutting it out and maybe like putting it on something like a pillow. I don't know, something like that. So
Yeah, because it seems like it's no longer clothing; it's just a piece of,
right,
like a sentimental artifact now. So, you.
yeah,
I don't think the bin method means you have to be a minimalist. You don't have to get rid of
that's
everything
true.
you own. It's just kind
Right.
of being better organized so you can deal with time better.
Yeah, so that sun little sweatshirt's still in my bin, so it's got a home, but I should probably get rid of it.
But it's
But
just going to sit in your home. So
yeah, it's literally gonna sit in the bin. It's okay. No, it's not hurting anyone. So
fair enough. So if you at home want to go ahead and try the bin method, you can go back and listen to our conversation with Dr. Battles from last week if you need more tips on how to do the bin method. And let us know how it works on Instagram. Emmerich, what are we at Instagram again?
we're at Conquer, a parenting podcast.
Yeah, so go ahead and share your pictures, your stories. Let us know how the bin method went for you. All right. So this week we are talking about when parents disagree on parenting with Dr. Y. So what are your opening thoughts on this topic, Emmerich?
Oh, I love this topic. This is so great. It's right up my alley. I loved her 5 core beliefs, and we'll get into that, as you hear the podcast. But everybody, I don't know one parent that hasn't disagreed with another parent. It's just, it's the nature of who we are as humans. We're always going to have different ways of thinking. So I'm just really excited to have Dr. Y on our show and talk about it.
Wait, you mean other parents disagree with their spouses as well as not just me and my wife?
Yeah, I would say all the time. Yep,
Okay.
it's normal.
Well, it's good to know we're not alone out there, right?
Nope, none of us are alone. This is what happens every day. So.
Excellent. Well, let's get to that interview right after a word from our sponsor.
Hey, Amric here. Has your child been recently diagnosed with special needs? Are you hearing words like autism, Down syndrome, ADHD, developmental disability, or dyslexia? If so, I bet you're feeling guilt, self judgment, lack of self confidence, or relationship struggles. Things that work for other parents just don't seem to work for you, and you're feeling overwhelmed. All of this is much easier and more efficient if you have the right support, coach, and mentor on your side who understands what you're going through and knows how to help you, your child, and your family thrive. I specialize in coaching parents of special needs children on how to parent and think differently, which creates lifelong solutions for their entire family. If you're ready to gain self confidence, lose the guilt, and take control back of your life, check out my website, conquersmp.com, and sign up for a free breakthrough session today. I look forward to hearing from you. Again, my website is conquersmp.com. Hey, Scott, can you introduce our guest today?
Certainly. We are delighted to have Dr. Yvonne Gustafson, warmly known to parents everywhere as Dr. Y, on the show today. Dr. Y is the author of two incredible books, Tools for the Preschool Years and Tools for the Toddler Years. She is also the founder of YourParentingMatters.com. Dr. Y, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Thank you. I am glad to be here, and I am well, having shoveled enough driveways to have taken care of some neighbors. So,
Good neighbor, good neighbor. Um, so you have such a wealth of experience and knowledge in the parenting world. And you've written on a lot of different topics. You have your books, and we could spend all day discussing. But today we're going to focus on when parents disagree on parenting. So when I was researching for this podcast, I was looking over your website, and what really stood out to me were your 5 core beliefs. And I wanted to just briefly kind of go over those and explain them to our audience.
okay.
So the first one was you are the expert on your child. Would you like to divulge in more information on that one?
The reality is that when we meet our infants, we are spending time with them, literally getting to know them. And you will know their temperament. You will know how they respond in different settings. You will be able to pick up nuances in terms of how they are feeling. And so that makes you the expert. It makes you more aware than any other book resource or professional you might seek out, because you literally have spent day in and day out learning who this person is.
Right. It's so true. And then the next one, framing the problem is key to solving it.
Absolutely. What we've learned over time is that if I label too quickly, if there is an underlying issue that is not really a social issue but a biological issue, we do much better at knowing where to begin to problem solve. And so it's important that we think about, how am I thinking about this child, or how am I thinking about the circumstance in which they're in? And that will help us then resolve issues.
Right. And the next one, you want clear and ready to use solutions.
Absolutely.
I love this one.
Yeah. Well, the reality is that parents are tempted to want a cookbook.
Right.
So if I do A plus B, I will always get C. In this case, both of my books really focus on, do you understand who this child is developmentally? Do you understand who they are through their temperament? Do you know enough of them that we can use the parenting strategies that will best match you and your child? Because you can have very good parenting that looks very different than your friend or your neighbor, because your child's temperament is very different, or because your tolerance for noise is different than yours. So your parenting implementation will be different and yet still be a high quality parenting approach.
Right, effective. So the other one, parenting is an art and skill.
That's right, because an art has that creative component to it that allows us some flexibility to express ourselves and our talents. And yet there really is underlying science in terms of how human beings are best treated by other human beings so that they grow and flourish.
Right. And last one is you parent from your own base.
Absolutely. You must understand your own value base. There are a number of parenting strategies out there that are based on your values. So there are two. Probably the earliest one is the cry it out process, where some parents will feel as though cry it out is a highly effective strategy. However, if mom and dad are crying harder than the baby, that is incongruent with my value base, and I cannot implement that without somehow, if we videotaped it, we would see how you will make that process not work for you.
Right, right. Like everything in your being is saying this is not
That's
how
right.
I should be doing.
Yeah.
So, on our questions today and our topic, I can see how using these five core belief systems really can guide your parenting in a very functional way. That's what really spoke to me when I was looking at your website. So, our first question is it unhealthy to disagree in front of our kids?
Well,
I'm sure you get that a lot.
I do. The challenge is that where we need to begin is let's clarify whether I'm disagreeing or in conflict. Those are
Okay.
two very different things. To disagree is to open the thought up for us to think together about something. So you will not realize that you bumped into someone else's frame of reference until you find yourself in conflict with them. Now, if I think about approaching a parent as though they are a respected team member, just like I would approach a respected authority in some other way, then my interaction with them is going to be respectful. It's going to stay in my head a little more. It's going to allow me to not, well, let me say it in a positive way. It's going to allow me to stay in a positive frame of reference when I'm working with that other parent versus conflict in which the chemistry would say the stress hormone cortisol is going to flood my brain.
Right.
I'm going to be less good at problem solving. I'm going to be less creative in my approaches. I'm going to bring a lot more emotional reaction than really entering in as a team member and as a co-parent.
Right.
Let
So,
me jump in there real
okay.
quick and do a follow up here. I know Dr. Y and I spoke earlier in the week about this topic. How do you, in the heat of a discussion, keep your head straight that you are teammates and on the same side when you both believe that you are doing the best thing for your child?
Okay. Um, the thing that we would like to do is to do some of our work before we're in the heat of moments. So the best, how can I say this? The people who play together learn to relax with one another. So as a couple, are you getting any time to be relaxed companions, or are you always focused on work and childcare? Because if I can trust in how I live life and flow with you, then I am less likely to be reactionary when we encounter a challenge. It's important that we think about what are our values here, because if I have a shared value base, I don't have to be a clone. I don't have to do it exactly like the other parent would do it. And children are much better at becoming flexible problem solvers themselves when they have to say, well, if I'm with daddy, we do it this way. If I'm with mama, we do it this way. And both ways keep me safe and life is good for me as a child. One of the things that we will sometimes do is to have parents kind of to look at what kind of structures we've put in place as a couple, so that there are patterns that have often evolved before children entered our lives. Some of them are very traditional, which is kind of defined as the in-house manager makes all the decisions about hearth and home, and the one who is potentially a breadwinner makes all the other decisions. Well, that doesn't work very much in our current culture because oftentimes both members of the couple are dealing with outside life. And so how do we keep those in balance means we need to have some conversations about that. There's another model that we talk about when we look at couple structures, and that's the egalitarian one. And it works very well when you are pre-children because everything is up for discussion. We're going to, money decisions, food decisions, all of that is up for discussion. Usually that model is put to the test when there's all of the additional decisions and the flow of the day with an infant or a toddler. That just the speed with which couples have to function makes that, we'll talk about everything, almost impossible. The third model is one that is somewhat flexible, which means that whoever is the first parent addressing the issue deals with the issue, and they report to the other parent more or less the decision that was made and the outcome, but they don't report it to have it be evaluated or judged. This is just information. It's I can give you an example from our early parenting as a couple when, my little guy happened to do one too many rough jumps off a bed and split his head open. And guess what? It was mom who took him to the doctor. My husband came home to a bloody rag on the counter with absolute confidence that the child was going to be cared for. The fact that I wasn't there and hadn't gotten emergency in touch with him was just a reality that we had confidence in each other. Now, this kind of decision making demands on the part of the couple that you will not only have trust in that other, but a great deal of confidence in the other person's skill in dealing with all the areas of hearth and home. So that takes real communication, and it takes a real commitment on the part of each team member to say, we got into this together and we are going to work it out together.
Now, would you say that when we're talking about, couples, spouses, do each of them have their own 5 core beliefs? Like they're almost like separate, correct? Right? Each parent has, you know what I'm saying?
Each parent is shaped by their own history.
Right.
It's not as though, whether or not we talk about cross-cultural in terms of nationality or ethnic upbringing or whatever, every relationship is somewhat cross-cultural. The reality is that in one household, mother could rule the household by the look, the stare she could use, and it had ultimate power to convey a lot of information. Another household, that would not have been a part of the family's history. So it wouldn't have been it would take another, it could potentially take your co-parent by surprise to see you use your eyes that way.
Right.
And our gender shapes the way we see the world. There is some pattern of parenting in which women tend to love their sons and raise their daughters, or reverse of that, where daddies have their princess girls and expect their sons to grow up. So it's we have these cultural mindsets that are part of the way we come into our parenting. There's significant research that says women tend usually to pull their children in closer. Fathers are more inclined to want to get them up in the air and out and away from their bodies and swing them around. And for many mothers, that's a little bit of a pause to say, how are you, quote, treating my baby versus, okay, how are we doing this as a couple, and what benefit is this to this child when they're giggling being up in the air and mother is biting her tongue, I hope.
Right. So, what if spouses can't get on the same page? What if they're having one is so reactionary, they're so passionate about something that they were brought up in a certain way, or, and the other spouse is like, I might have an issue with that. What are some suggestions that spouses can do to kind of navigate those difficult times?
Okay, well, this is why people like you and I do parent coaching. One of our processes is to help people build a shared parenting language.
Oh, I like that.
So our goal is to build that language first on the vocabulary of development. Who is this child? Where is this child in the journey of their cognitive skills, their ability to grow and be? We also build this language on understanding temperament, our own, the child's, any other caregivers, so that we understand that for one parent, uh, rhythm is an important part of how they will need to structure the day for themselves and the child. And for another parent, the temperament can flow more easily. It isn't,
Right.
So understanding those core pieces of language or our parenting language. So as coaches, we work our way through those kinds of things with individuals and couples. And, when it seems as though, it's kind of like I also need to look at my own history in the sense that, if there is a history of that's planted uncertainty in me as a parent, perhaps I was abused, perhaps I did not have particularly supportive parents, so that I don't feel as though I can trust myself, then again, those are opportunities for either relying on the other parent to fill in
Right.
those places in a different way, or for getting, building a social network around my family so that I have a lot more models of, women or, mothers and fathers who can show me in real life in this play group how do I slow myself down? Um, how do I trust that this child will be taking appropriate steps or learning? So it's knowing my own history. Uh, it is it is one of those things that we need to self-assess. Are we as a couple having the same fight over and over? Yeah.
So when couples are having difficulty and they're having the same fight over and over, what are some strategies that we can do, parents can do, to try to navigate those kinds of discussions and difficulties in their relationship and with their kids?
Okay. Well, one of the things we need to talk about is that shared parenting, co-parenting is one of the most challenging tasks we will face as adults. So it is not a failure to say that there are times to invite a skilled family therapist in to help negotiate some of those more private issues, to help people clarify what their values are, perhaps to learn and practice some communication strategies that in a safe environment with a coach that is, skilled in that area. And then that will also often help expand their approach to problems, both big and small, in the relationship. So I have no hesitation about saying that that there are times when the work is bigger or is more appropriately addressed by ongoing support in an environment with a skilled therapist.
Yeah, definitely. And I think too, people shouldn't be ashamed or like you said, it's not a failure to get some help because once you learn some strategies and, gain that knowledge, your life will be 100 times better. When you say in terms of, just improving a family life when everybody can communicate and be on somewhat of the same page, it's kind of life altering.
It is to find joy in the relationship rather than to say, I'm working so hard, there is no joy here.
Right. Doing the same thing over and over, just that, it's what is it? Who said that? I think it was Was it Albert Einstein?
Einstein, that's where I'm going
Insanity.
to.
Yeah.
The definition of
Right.
insanity is to do the same thing over and over and expect a different result. Yes.
Right. And I think just parenting, we do that. We just get in the daily rut of just doing the same thing. We go to work, we pick up our kids, we do the laundry, we take care, and we forget that there can be so much joy in the good and the bad of parenting.
Dr. Y, if I could interrupt really quickly, you mentioned earlier creating that shared parenting language. Is that one way you can create confidence in each other as parents?
Absolutely. For one thing, when we sometimes focus on what didn't work or what doesn't feel comfortable rather than acknowledging our growth along the way. So, the thing about the shared parenting language is that we can begin to recognize and acknowledge the fact that, you handled that really well, and I'm pleased. So we begin to share more family affirmation when we understand and have an opportunity to name where our shared goals are.
With looking at your five core beliefs, would it be helpful to have couples sit down and actually write those out, answer those five core beliefs as just something, if some people are having some difficulty and they're on your website taking a look at it, looking around, they're like, oh, maybe maybe we really need to get some help. Where would you say to start? Where would it be a good place to start for couples?
Well, that's always an interesting one because for many people, they are caught by their insurance providers.
Okay.
So we unfortunately sometimes have to begin with who can help with the expense of appropriate support.
Okay.
So that's not usually what people want to hear, but it's a reality for families. Another place that parents sometimes go is if they have a faith-based group that has some skilled family support team members on it. Again, another place where people can build a therapeutic environment around them is to look at their friends and family and say, are these people modeling what I hope to be able to do in my own relationship?
Right.
And it's amazing how when women, let me back up a step. Women are often the social secretaries of the family. They are often the ones who will find a friend, listen with their third ear about the father who in this group, and sort out whether or not that father would be a good fit for the father in my family, and
Right.
build the couple relationships that people can relax in and share in the parenting. Nothing is more joyful than to have another set of pizza buddies or meet at the park buddies where dads and moms can relax with one another and any one of them could step forward should a toddler or a preschooler or child need some moral support or help. That is one of the best gifts we give ourselves, is to find good friends.
Right. Like-minded parents, that, and the kids get together, and it's like that one statement, like it takes a tribe, or a village
Yeah,
to
our
raise a
village.
child,
Right,
that
right.
kind of thing. Yeah, no, that's great advice. Very good advice.
And Dr. Y, before you have to leave us today, could you tell some of our parents what kind of help they might find in your new books that you have out?
Certainly. The tools for the toddler years is designed specifically for the time crunched, always mobile, um, busy, active parent who needs the opportunity to really look at how do I get started with a child who's in that toddler, which if we translate that is up and on their legs to about 3.5. So that book is designed for you to understand developmentally where they are, One of its real strengths is the work that was done by the graphic designer in that one, because we created what we call power pages for what do you do around the dominant challenges, the transitions, the tantrums, some of the issues around playing well with others. And I spent a page to say what's going on developmentally, and then a full page spread of where do you start, what do you do next, and then just a group of tools, not in any order. This is not like you do step 1, 2, 3. It's like, here's a tool that might work for this temperament, here's a different tool, and to give people really an opportunity to see parenting in motion in a print format. The tools for the preschool years has, again, the next step up of development, and understanding that our preschoolers are beginning to build or to plant the seeds of their coping strategies, and helping parents understand what it means to have a language of feelings, to also address those issues that now the child's world is often getting bigger than at home. So how do you work with other professionals? How do you, deal with getting them in and out of the door as often as you have to get kids in and out the door sometimes
with their shoes on,
right? Certainly, there will be somewhere in that preschool, and now again, these are fuzzy numbers, so preschoolers are somewhere between 2.5 and 6.5. So in there somewhere, they will often experience primary lying. And so how do you help them without labeling any child a liar at this age? But their challenge to separate fantasy from reality is developmentally on target. We simply need to help them work through that. So these books are written with small topic areas so that you could pick it up, look for what you want to read, and go read that, and come back, 3 days later and pick up another part of it, and hopefully find benefit in that part too.
And are these books available on Amazon, or where would someone find these books?
Both Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and of course then there's always the hope that you would ask for it at your bookstore and they would start carrying it.
Fair enough. And then if someone wanted to reach you, how could they reach out?
Certainly the easiest way is to actually use the website. I always have to warn people, it's your-parenting-matters.com. But I certainly will respond through info at that website.
Well, thank you so much for coming on our podcast. We're excited. We look forward to talking to you soon.
Well, I appreciate it. It's been fun. It's the first one of these. It's an opportunity for me to figure out some of the tech too. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
This segment of the show is brought to us by MathRadio.com. MathRadio.com offers educational math courses for students between the ages of 7 and 17. So if your child is in the 3rd grade, 7th grade, or even high school, they have courses for you. Sign up today at MathRadio.com for any math course for only $9.99. Help your kids do better in class, get better grades, score higher on exams, and even get into college. Act now and get your courses at mathradio.com for as little as $9.99. Again, that is www.mathradio.com. Americ and I want to say thank you one more time for a great appearance by Dr. Y on our show. I think we both really enjoyed the conversation. Next week, we are going to be talking with Dr. Laura Markham about timeouts. Okay. To find more information about that, you can check it out on Instagram. Americ, what's the Instagram?
It's Conquer, a parenting podcast, and you can find pictures of our kids and all information on our podcast and everything else.
Just information on everything else in the world.
Everything else in the world. It's
just
all
go to
there.
Conquer a Parenting Podcast at Instagram
Anything you
find
need to know, it is there.
the secrets of life. Absolutely. Who killed JFK? All that good stuff. All right. So
Yep.
join us next week. We're going to be talking about timeouts. Are they good? Are they bad? Do they matter? And we will see you then. Bye
All
for
right.
now.
Bye-bye.